Beijing, a metropolis in northern China, is the capital of the People's Republic of China. It was formerly known in English as Peking. Beijing is one of the four great Asian capitals of China. Since its establishment in 723 BCE, Beijing has served as the capital of numerous dynasties and governments and has been regarded as a prize by conquerors and revolutionaries, symbolizing dominance over all of China. In ancient history, it was the heart and administrative center of China, a gathering place for scholar officials and aristocrats. In the past 2 decades, the rapid modernization of China's economy has brought about dramatic changes in the city and raised challenges never faced before, such as traffic, smog, and pollution. Beijing was awarded the hosting the 2008 Summer Olympics. Preparations for the 2008 Olympics forced Beijing to quickly upgrade its infrastructure and transportation system. Beijing is also one of the 4 municipalities of People's Republic of China, which are equivalent to provinces in China's administrative structure. Beijing municipality borders Hebei province to the north, west, south, and for a small section in the east, and Tianjin municipality to the southeast. Beijing is China's second largest city in terms of population after Shanghai. It is a major transportation hub with dozens of railways, roads, and expressways passing through the city. It is also the main destination of many international flights to China. Beijing is recognized as the political, educational, and cultural center of China, while Shanghai and Hong Kong predominate in economic fields.
Beijing literally means northern capital, in line with the common East Asian tradition whereby capital cities are explicitly named as such. Other cities similarly named include Nanjing, China, meaning southern capital, Tokyo, Japan, and Tonkin, Vietnam, both meaning eastern capital. Peking is the name of the city according to Chinese postal map romanization and the traditional customary name for Beijing in English. In China, the city has had many names. Between 1368 and 1405, and again from 1928 and 1949, it was known as Beiping, literally Northern Peace. On both occasions, the name changed with the removal of the element meaning capital, to reflect the fact the national capital had changed to Nanjing. The first time under the Hongwu Emperor of the Ming dynasty, and the second time with the Kuomintang government of the Republic of China, so that Peking was no longer the capital of China. The Communist Party of China reverted the name to Beijing in 1949, again in part to emphasize that Beijing has returned to its role as China's capital. Yanjing is and has been another popular informal name for Beijing, a reference to the ancient state of Yan, and existed here during the Zhou dynasty.
Several cities bearing various names have existed at the modern site of Beijing since 723 BCE. The capital of the state of Yan, one of the powers of the Warring State period, Ji, was established in present-day Beijing. After the fall of the Yan, the subsequent Qin, Han, and Jin dynasties set up local prefectures in the area. In Tang Dynasty, it became the headquarters for Fan Yang Jidushi, the virtual military governor of current northern Hebei area, and Lucian launched an Shi rebellion from Beijing in 755. This rebellion is often regarded as a turning point of the Tang Dynasty, as the central government began to lose control of the whole country. In 936, the later Jin dynasty of northern China ceded a large part of its northern frontier, including modern Beijing, to the Khitan Liao dynasty. In 938, the Liao dynasty set up a secondary capital in what is now Beijing and called it Nanjing, the southern capital. In 1125, the Jurchen Jin dynasty annexed Liao, and in 1153 moved its capital to Liao's Nanjing, calling it Zandu, the central capital. Zandu was situated in what is now the area centered around Tianjin, slightly to the southwest of central Beijing. Mongol forces burned Zhuangdu to the ground in 1215 and rebuilt it to the north of Jin capital from 1260 to 1290. In preparation for the conquest of all of China, Yuan dynasty founder Kublai Khan made present-day Beijing his capital at Dadu, Chinese for grand capital or Kambalik to the Mongols. The decision of the Khan greatly enhanced the status of a city that has been situated on the northern fringe of China proper. The nucleus of present-day Beijing was the city of Kambalik. After the fall of the Yuan dynasty in 1368, the city was later rebuilt by the Han Chinese Ming dynasty and Shantung prefecture was established in the area around the city. In 1421, the third Ming Emperor Yongle moved the Ming capital from Nanjing to the renamed Beijing, the northern capital. The capital was also known as Jingxi, simply meaning capital. During the Ming dynasty, Beijing took its current shape and the Ming area city wall served as the Beijing city wall until modern times when it was pulled down and the second ring road was built in the 1980s over former moats that encircled the old walls. It is believed that Beijing was the largest city in the world from 1425 to 1650 and from 1710 to 1825. The Forbidden City was constructed soon after that, followed by the Temple of Heaven and numerous other construction projects. Tiananmen, which has become a state symbol of the China and is featured on its album, was burnt down twice during the Ming dynasty and the final reconstruction was carried out in 1651. In 1860, Beijing was occupied by French and British troops following the Battle of Balichao, forcing the Chinese government to concede the legation corridor for foreign settlements. This cession was a contributing factor to the Boxer Rebellion 1900, in which the legation corridor was besieged until relieved by American, Japanese, and European troops. The Qing Revolution of 1911 aimed at replacing Qing rule with a republic originally intended to establish its capital at Nanjing. After high-ranking Qing official Yuan Shikai forced the abdication of the Qing emperor in Beijing and ensured the success of the revolution, the revolutionaries in Nanjing said that Yuan should be the president of the new Republic of China and that the capital should remain at Beijing. Yuan gradually consolidated power, culminating in his declaration of a Chinese empire in late 1950 with himself as emperor. The move was highly unpopular and Yuan himself died less than a year later, ending his brief reign. China then fell under the control of regional warlords, and the most powerful factions fought frequent wars to take control of the capital at Beijing. Following the success of the Kuomintang's northern expedition, which pacified the warlords of the north, Nanjing was officially made the capital of the Republic of China in 1928, and Beijing was renamed Biping, Northern Peace or North Pacified, to emphasize that the warlord government in Beijing was not legitimate. During the Second Sino-Japanese War, Biping fell to Japan on July 29, 1937. During the occupation, the city reverted to its former name, Beijing, and made the seat of the provisional government of the Republic of China, a puppet state that ruled the ethnic Chinese portion of Japanese-occupied North China. It was later merged into the larger Wang Jingwei government based in Nanjing. With Japan's surrender in World War II on August 15, 1945, Beijing's name was changed back to Biping. On January 31, 1949, during the Chinese Civil War, Communist forces entered Beijing without a fight. On October 1st of the same year, the Communist Party of China, under the leadership of Mao Zedong, announced the creation of the PRC in Tiananmen in Beijing. Just a few days earlier, the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference had decided that Biping would be the capital of the new government and that its name would be changed back to Beijing. In the late 20th century, the spread of democracy and economic reforms throughout the world became a major issue in China. In 1989, a massacre of mostly student demonstrators in Beijing's Tiananmen Square signaled the difficulty of China's democratic movement in the face of totalitarian authority. Not long after these tragic events, influenced by Deng Xiaoping's economic reforms, China attracted considerable foreign investment, resulting in unprecedented growth and development in Beijing. At the time of the founding of the People's Republic of China, PRC, Beijing municipality consisted of just its urban area and immediate suburbs. The urban area was divided into many small districts inside what is now the second ring road. Since then, several surrounding counties have been incorporated into the municipality, enlarging the limits of Beijing's municipality by many times and giving it its present shape. The Beijing city wall was torn down between 1965 and 1969 to make way for the construction of the second ring road. Following the economic reforms of Deng Xiaoping, the urban area of Beijing has expanded greatly. Formerly within the confines of the second and the third ring road, the urban area of Beijing is now pushing at the limits of the recently constructed fifth and sixth ring road, with many areas that were formerly farmlands now developed residential or commercial neighborhoods.
Beijing is situated at the northern tip of the roughly triangular North China Plain, which opens to the south and east of the city. Mountains to the north, northwest, and west shield the city and northern China's agricultural heartland from the encroaching desert steppes. The northwestern part of the municipality are dominated by the Jundu Mountains, while the western part of the municipality is framed by the Jishan Mountains. The Great Wall of China, which stretches across the northern part of Beijing municipality, made use of this rugged topography to defend against nomadic incursions from the steppes. Mount Dongling is the municipality's highest point, with an altitude of 7,555 feet. Major rivers flowing through the municipality include the Yangding River and the Chabai River, part of the Hai River system. Beijing is also the northern terminus of the Grand Canal of China, which was built across the northern China Plain to Hangzhou. The city's climate is a monsoon-influenced humid continental climate, characterized by hot, humid summers due to the East Asian monsoon and harshly cold, windy, dry winters that reflect the influence of the West Siberian anticyclone. Average temperatures in January are at around 19 to 24 degrees Fahrenheit, while average temperatures in July are at 77 to 79 degrees Fahrenheit, thus from erosion of deserts in northern and northwestern China result in seasonal dust storms that plague the city. In the first 4 months of 2006 alone, there were no fewer than 8 such storms. Three styles of architecture predominate in urban Beijing. First, the traditional architecture of Imperial China, perhaps best exemplified by the massive Tiananmen Gate of Heavenly Peace, which remains the PRC's trademark edifice, the Forbidden City, and the Temple of Heaven. Next, there is what is sometimes referred to as the Sinusoid style, built between the 1950s and the 1970s, which tend to be boxy, bland, and poorly made. Finally, there are much more modern architectural forms, most noticeably in the area of the Beijing CBD. One example of a traditional architectural style in Beijing is the Siheyuan. A Siheyuan consists of a square housing compound with rooms enclosing a central courtyard. This courtyard often contains a pomegranate or other type of tree, as well as potted flowers or a fish tank. Siheyuans line hutons or alleys which connect the interior of Beijing's old city. Once ubiquitous in Beijing, Siheyuans and hutons are now rapidly disappearing, as entire city blocks of hutons are leveled and replaced with high-rise buildings. Residents of the hutons are entitled to apartments in the new buildings of at least the same size as their former residences. Many complain, however, that the traditional sense of community and street life of the hutons cannot be replaced. Some particular historic or picturesque hutons are being preserved and restored by the government, especially for the 2008 Olympics. One such example can be seen at Nanchaizi. Municipal government is regulated by the local Communist Party of China, CPC, led by the Beijing CPC Secretary. The local CPC issues administrative orders, collects taxes, manages the economy, and directs a standing committee of the Municipal People's Congress in making policy decisions and overseeing the local government. Additionally, as the capital of China, Beijing houses all of the important national governmental and political institutions, including the National People's Congress. Over 95% of Beijing's residents belong to the Han Chinese majority. Other major ethnic minorities include the Manchu, Hui, and Mongol. A Tibetan high school exists for youth of Tibetan ancestry, nearly all of whom have come to Beijing from Tibet expressively for their studies. A sizable international community exists in Beijing, mostly attracted by the highly growing foreign businesses and trade sector, and many live in the Beijing urban areas densely populated northern, northeastern, and eastern sections. In recent years, there has also been an influx of South Koreans who live in Beijing, predominantly for purposes of business and study. People native to urban Beijing speak the Beijing dialect, which belongs to the Mandarin subdivision of spoken Chinese. Beijing dialect is the basis for standard Mandarin, the language used in the PRC, the Republic of China and Taiwan, and Singapore. Rural areas of Beijing municipality have their own dialects akin to those of Hebei province, which surrounds Beijing municipality. Beijing opera or Peking opera is well known throughout the national capital. Commonly lauded as one of the highest achievements of Chinese culture, Beijing opera is performed through a combination of song, spoken dialogue, and codified action sequences, such as gestures, movement, fighting, and acrobatics. Mandarin cuisine is a local style of cooking in Beijing. Peking roast duck is perhaps the most well-known dish. The Manhan Quantree is a traditional banquet originally intended for the ethnic Manchu emperors of Qing dynasty. It remains very prestigious and expensive. Tea houses are also common in Beijing. Chinese tea comes in many varieties, and some rather expensive types of Chinese tea are said to cure an ailing body extraordinarily well. Beijing is the host of the 2008 Summer Olympics and 2008 Summer Paralympics. Professional sports teams based in Beijing include Beijing Guan, Beijing Ducks, and Beijing Olympians. Beijing is home to a great number of colleges and universities, including several well-regarded universities of international stature, especially including China's two most prestigious institutions, Peking University and Tsinghua University. Owing to Beijing's status as a political and cultural capital of China, a larger proportion of tertiary-level institutions are concentrated here than any other city in China. Many international students from Japan, Korea, North America, Europe, Southeast Asia, and elsewhere come to Beijing to study every year, a growing trend especially among Western students. With the growth of the city following economic reforms, Beijing has evolved as an important transportation hub. Encircling the city are 5 ring roads, 9 expressways and city express routes, 11 China national highways, several railway routes, and an important airport. Beijing has 2 major railway stations, Beijing Railway Station or the Central Station and Beijing West Railway Station. 3 other railway stations in metropolitan Beijing handle regular passenger traffic, Beijing East, Beijing North, and Fengtai. There are also several other small stations serving suburban area. Beijing is a railway hub containing railway lines from Beijing to Guangzhou, Shanghai, Harbin, Baotou, Taiwan, Chengdu, Qinhuangdao, Russia, Pyongyang, North Korea, Kowloon, and Hong Kong. Beijing is connected via road links from all parts of China. 9 expressways of China, with 6 wholly new expressways projected or under construction, connect with Beijing, as do 11 China national highways. Within Beijing itself, an elaborate network of 5 ring roads has developed, but they appear more rectangular than ring-shaped. Roads in Beijing often are in one of the 4 compass directions. One of the biggest concerns with traffic in Beijing deals with its ubiquitous traffic jams. Traffic in the city center is often gridlocked, especially around rush hour. Even outside of rush hour, several roads still remain clogged up with traffic. Urban area ring roads and major through routes, especially near the Chang'an Avenue area, are often clogged during rush hour. Recently, expressways have been extended, in some cases reconstructed as express routes, into the territories within the 3rd ring road. As they are either expressways or express routes, drivers do not need to pass through intersections with traffic lights. This may finally solve the difficulties in traveling between the city's ring roads. Beijing's main airport is the Beijing Capital International Airport near Shanyi, which is about 12 miles northeast of Beijing city center. Most domestic and nearly all international flights arrive and depart at Capital Airport, the main hub for Air China. It is linked to central Beijing by the Airport Expressway and is a roughly 40-minute drive from the city center during good traffic hours. In preparation for the 2008 Summer Olympics, another expressway was being built to the airport, as well as a light rail system. Although public transportation has lacked in the past, Beijing has dedicated itself to improving its subway, bus, and trolley bus service network. The involving Beijing subway has 4 lines, with 2 above ground and 2 underground, and has several more being built in preparation for the 2008 Summer Olympics.
In first 2 decades following the PRC's foundation in 1949, Beijing had virtually no tourist economy to speak of due to economic and social conditions at the time. In the late 1970s, Beijing, alongside much of China during a period of reform and economic opening under Deng Xiaoping, saw greater attempts at attracting and catering to international business. A large number of hotels and other facilities to accommodate business, tourists, and other visitors were constructed, facilitating its growth as an international tourist location. Despite the turmoil of the 19th and 20th centuries, including damage caused by European military occupation, the Japanese invasion of World War II and the Cultural Revolution, and the recent intense urbanization and transformation, including the demolition of hutongs, Beijing still maintains tourist attractions that are rich in history. Although more known for its political significance in the West, the Tiananmen has long been one of the most important tourist sites of Beijing, both by itself and as the main entrance to the Forbidden City. Other world-renowned sites including the Beidolin section of the Great Wall of China, the Summer Palace, and the Temple of Heaven. The economy of Beijing ranks among the most developed and prosperous cities in China. In 2013, the municipality's nominal gross domestic product (GDP) was 314 billion United States dollars. It was about 3.43% of the country's total output and ranked 13th among the province-level administrative units. The Beijing Central Business District (CBD), centered at the Guomo area, has been identified as the city's new central business district and is home to a variety of corporate regional headquarters, shopping malls, and high-end housing. The Beijing Financial District in the Foximen and Fuchengmen area is a traditional financial center. The Wangfujing and Jidan areas are major shopping districts. Zhongguancun, dubbed China's Silicon Valley, continues to be a major center in electronics and computer-related industries, as well as pharmaceutical-related research. Meanwhile, Yishuang, located to the southeast of the urban area, is becoming a new center in pharmaceuticals, IT, and materials engineering. Major industrial areas include Shijingshan, located on the western outskirts of the city. Agriculture is carried on outside the urban area of Beijing, with wheat and corn being the main crops. Vegetables are also grown in the regions closer to the urban area in order to supply the city. The development of Beijing continues to proceed at a rapid pace, and the vast expansion of the city has created a multitude of problems. Beijing is known for its smog, as well as the frequent power-saving programs instituted by the government. Citizens of Beijing, as well as tourists, frequently complain about the quality of the water supply and the cost of basic services such as electricity and natural gas.